It's Friday, March 31st, 2023, a beautiful 80-degree day here out in the desert. A lot to talk about to wrap up this week. I'm going to start with this. I'm not here to get political. You know I don't get political. We try to keep it strictly financial. But they now are hoping to avert everybody's attention from a financial collapse, from a banking collapse. They're going to try to avert your attention now, not to pay attention to that, but to pay attention to this political circus that is beginning to unravel. And I'm not going to get into it because I'm not going to sit here and get political, but you know the political circus I'm talking about. So while banks go insolvent, while Social Security goes broke, while Medicare goes broke, while pensions go unfunded, enjoy the circus, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the circus. But let's get into what's happening right now. I jotted down some notes. I was reading some articles today. And please feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about what's happening in your areas, in your state, in your towns, what's happening socially, what's happening financially. But I think right now we could all agree that people are really struggling, especially financially. They're barely making it. People are just struggling to keep their heads above water just to make it. The cost of living is putting a tremendous amount of stress on families. We are now going to watch a political circus take place while the banking system is in chaos. Layoffs are happening every day. And what we're going to witness is not even going to be able to compare to what happened in 2008. I see a lot of people trying to compare this to 2008. It's not even close. I think we can compare this to 1929, and it's going to be worse than that, in my opinion, because there's just so much more debt. But for most Americans, employment is really the only thing standing between them and poverty, literally standing between them and living in a tent. Think about that. So many people are 1, 2, or 3 paychecks away from being homeless, from living on the streets. And so many people used to tell me how wrong I was. They would tell you the same thing. Could never happen to them. I drive a BMW. I drive a Lexus. I have a nice job. I could never be homeless. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you do not have a good family to fall back on, if you don't have a good church to fall back on, and more than likely you don't because there are very, very few good churches out there, you miss a couple paychecks, you could be in very, very big trouble. That goes for anybody. Nobody is immune now from losing a job. Most people don't have money saved up. They don't have a cash reserve. They have a lot of debt. They have a lot of payments. And if they miss a couple paychecks, they're done. They're in big, big trouble. 44% of Americans are working more than one job and barely surviving. 69% of employed professionals either have a side job or are looking for one. 60 to 70% of this population, depending on the news source, is working paycheck to paycheck. And 18 million Americans live in deep poverty. Deep poverty. What is that? Well, that's people who make less than $6,380 per year, or families of 4 living on less than $13,100 a year. As small and regional banks tighten lending, we're going to see fewer commercial loans. We're going to see fewer auto loans. We're going to see fewer credit cards. We're going to see fewer mortgages. Today, I just checked on bankrate.com, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 6.85%. Think about how close we are to 7% again. 6.85%. Who in the world is going out and buying a house today in this overvalued market? But going back to some of these numbers, and what's happening in commercial real estate, what's happening with fewer mortgages, fewer credit cards, fewer loans, this means people are going to spend less money, and that means more people are going to get laid off. If people are buying less homes, you have 1.6 million real estate agents out there. If they're not selling homes, guess what? They're in big trouble. And many of them are in big trouble right now, and many of them are going to be forced to sell their own homes. CNBC, Social Security trust funds depletion date moves 1 year earlier to 2034, Treasury says. it says in this article, they could run out of money by 2033, not 2034, but 2033, a year earlier than projected. If things aren't fixed, 66 million Americans could see benefit reductions between 23 and 25%, according to this article. Medicare is even in bigger trouble. It can only pay scheduled benefits until 2031. Can I ask all of you, where is the money? Where did all the money go? And yet we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other countries, and we have underfunded pensions. We have Social Security running out now in 2033, and Medicare in even bigger trouble. Where is the money? And if these things are so depleted right now, what are we doing about making these systems whole again? I guess we have a Fed that just printed $500 billion. We're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other countries. I guess those places are more important. Bailing out banks is more important. Helping other countries is more important than helping the people right here in America. Market Watch. Most U.S. banks are technically near insolvency, and hundreds are already fully insolvent. Nouriel Roubini. Yet people ignoring reality. This absolutely amazes me. We look at the markets today. Dow Jones up over 400 points. Markets across the board up. A very, very nice rally today. Just a couple weeks ago, we were watching a banking meltdown take place. Now today, nobody's even talking about it. Disaster averted. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Nothing to worry about. Fortune magazine. U.S. banks are sitting on $1.7 trillion in unrealized losses, research says. That's not a problem until it is. Everyone is pretending that everything is okay, that the banks are fine, the financial system is fine, the average American is fine, nothing is wrong. And reality doesn't care about hope or pretending. Reality is here, ladies and gentlemen. The reality of it is we got very, very big trouble. $1.7 trillion in unrealized losses. We got a Fed that just printed $500 billion more dollars, expanding its balance sheet. A Fed that is creating more inflation while raising interest rates. Everyone says the banking system is strong, and we're watching banking stocks go back up. Markets going up just like today, yesterday. No one cares about banks. No one cares about bank collapses. Nobody cares about the rigging of the system. Nobody cares about all the money printing. And most people are going to be on the wrong side of this when things do begin to implode, because you can continue to play this game of printing money and raising interest rates and QE and creating more inflation. At some point, you are going to devalue the currency so much that it becomes worthless, that we begin to see hyperinflation in America. And with all these countries that are ditching the dollar on top of a Fed that is printing so much money, we're going to see very, very big trouble here. And people can say, well, it hasn't happened yet. You've been talking about this for a couple years. And to those people, first off, collapses don't happen overnight. Bubbles don't pop overnight. They inflate. They inflate for years. And this one is so big. And when you have a Fed that can print so much money and devalue the currency so much, think about what would have happened 2 weeks ago if the Fed would have just done the right thing, the government would have just done the right thing and let these banks collapse. Of course, you can insure the depositors, but you let the banks and you let the bondholders of these banks go, the investors go. That's the right thing. Banks that make bad decisions, reckless loans, they have to fail. That is capitalism. That's the way it was set up. These people, these CEOs or bank presidents, some of them should actually be in prison. But why are they rewarded with bailouts and bonuses? Completely wrong. But the system would have already collapsed so many times. But what's happening is the economy, or basically the economy is being sacrificed for these markets. We are sacrificing the economy for bank bailouts. And to these people who go, well, you've been talking about Well, yeah, you now have a collapsed economy. There's no doubt about that. They have absolutely collapsed the economy, and they have sacrificed the economy for the stock market, for the banks. But they're on borrowed time. Things just a couple weeks ago should have collapsed and would have collapsed if we didn't have the government step in and the Fed step in and print more and more money. But guess who's going to pay for that? You are. Guess what happens to your purchasing power? It gets devalued. You're going to go to the store today and you're going to get less and pay more. That's exactly what's going to continue to happen until it doesn't happen any longer. Until the one tool that they have, the printing press, no longer works because there's no value to the dollar. And we're going to see that happen, I think, in our lifetime, ladies and gentlemen. As you see now what is happening with the BRICS nations, you see now what China is doing. They are ready to move in and be the world reserve currency. Brazil, China, France, all of them. Strike trade deal agreement to ditch US dollar. And you know what? Mexico is in there too. And so many other countries. It's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And so what happens when the dollar loses so much value that it is no longer a tool for the Fed? They can print and print. When a lunch costs you $1,000 or costs you $10,000, who cares? It's worthless at this point. So you better make sure you're on the right side of this. You better make sure that you own some land, you own some gold, you own some silver, you own real hard tangible assets. These countries are going to use their own currencies. They are going to bounce on the US dollars. Other countries are going to run to China, ladies and gentlemen. The weaponization of the dollar is coming to an end, and countries cannot wait to ditch it and run to China. This is becoming reality. The end of the dollar has begun, and the people out there, you know, who want to criticize me by saying, oh, you've been talking about the collapse of the stock market. Again, if they did not have the US dollar and they could print it out of thin air, it would have collapsed 10 times already. And now all they're doing is they're going to make the collapse 100 times worse than it was going to be. And when it collapses, I hope you come out of your holes and you criticize me, but you probably won't be able to because you're going to be so scared to come out of your house, your hole, or anything, because society will be so dangerous, you won't have the guts to do it. Former Treasury official warns of complete economic implosion if U.S. dollar loses global reserve status. This it was Monica Crowley, former Treasury official. And this article comes from newsbitcoin.com. Crowley warns of catastrophic consequences if the U.S. dollar loses global reserve currency status. It's happening right now before your very eyes. And, you know, think about how many people are not even in the stock market. And people might say, well, I'm not going to be affected by the stock market. Well, one thing you will be affected by is by a collapsing U.S. dollar. California to require half of all heavy truck sales to be electric by 2035. There is no doubt going to be an escape from California. So many people are leaving this state. This state, I think, is going to look a lot different in 10 years. And how many people right now, today, tonight, this weekend, are sitting down with their families discussing an escape plan from California, an exit strategy to leave this state? I can tell you right now, I'm in the process of it. I talked to an agent today. We're talking weekly now. And it is all just, to me, a matter of finding the right property at the right price. And I'm out of this state and I cannot wait to get out of here. But so many people criticize me also, saying that I'm never going to leave, that it's just for views. Do you think I really need to stay here in California and talk about leaving for views? I'll tell you what, I will get a lot more views in a different state because I'll have a lot more things to talk about, especially on a ranch. And I look very, very forward to sharing with all of you my life on a ranch, the fish, the chickens, the cows, the animals, the deer, the turkeys, the boar, just the lifestyle of living on 20, 30, or 50 acres, whatever I decide, whatever I find. But I want to share it with all of you. I hope that you will all tune in. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. But that's my goal, and hopefully that goal will become reality this summer sometime. Another one from Fox Business. LA luxury real estate agents rush to offload properties before mansion tax hits tomorrow, April 1st. So if you sell a home in LA County over $5 million, you're going to be taxed 4%. If it's over $10 million, you will be taxed 5.5%. Again, how many people cannot wait to get out of California? Think about this, and there's a lot of homes in LA County that cost $20+ million. Homes have sold for $80 million. They've sold for over $100 million. Think about a 5.5% mansion tax on a $20 million home. I don't have my calculator here, but isn't that over $1 million? Think about, you're taxed when you buy that home. Every month you're paying property tax, or you're paying your property taxes twice a year, whatever you're doing. You're paying taxes to LA County. You're paying for services. You're paying for utilities. And now you're just running people out of town who are going to discount these properties to get out. I don't know who's going to buy them, but a lot of people just can't get out now with the prices of these properties, even after they've been discounted. So where's the money going to go? Why are they taxing these mansions? Well, they're going to take the tax revenue and they say that they're going to use it to help the homeless people in LA. Interesting. I wonder how much of that money is going to go in other places besides homeless people. And, you know, if I had a multi-million-dollar home in LA County, I would almost really have some animosity towards homeless people. You know, I always want to help people. We go out, we feed homeless people and their pets and you know, just help a little bit. But think about if you had to pay $1 million or $100,000 or $500,000 or $1.5 million in a mansion tax because you had to give it to these homeless people, I would begin to have some animosity. But we know that most of that money is probably not going to go to help anybody but some politicians in Los Angeles. But absolutely shocking. But as we wrap up the week, ladies and gentlemen, people, I guess, in these markets believe everything's going to be okay now. Just, again, a couple weeks ago, a complete economic meltdown, a market meltdown, bank meltdown, you name it. It was all melting down today. Everything's fine. People are going to ride out into the weekend. Everything's fine. Banks are stable. Markets are stable. Nothing to see here. Nothing to worry about. It's scary. I'll tell you that. When you watch what they're doing, it's in plain sight. It's clear as day, the manipulation that's going on. But the amount of money printing to make this problem go away, that it's not going to go away. We're going to see more banking issues. We're going to see big trouble, and we're going to see more inflation, and we're going to see more Americans struggling. And that's really sad. It's pathetic. And it's pathetic that we're not helping small business. We're not helping people. Look, in my opinion, right now, I would give incentive to small business. I'd be cutting business taxes. I'd be cutting everybody's taxes. I would be incentivizing people to get back to work, businesses to open, and I would have a huge, huge tax cut. And I would start getting rid of a lot of this regulation, opening up pipelines. Let's get energy prices down. Let's get people's gas prices down. And I think that right there would be just a glimmer of hope, some light at the end of the tunnel. And people would be, I think, incentivized to go work. Anybody working overtime, I think any overtime money should not be taxed at all. That's free and clear. I think that we need to energize people to get back to work and work more than 40 hours a week. You work 10 hours of overtime, not taxed. You want to see people get back to work. You want to see people make money. You want to see businesses open. That's what I think you would have to do. And I think one of the biggest things America needs to do right now, and this is me just talking off the top of my head here, I think opening up manufacturing plants in America, producing manufacturing again, and giving people living wages would be huge. And that's what we need to do, because if we don't do this, we are going to lose big time to China and many other countries. We're just going to lose here. Let's shut down most of these military bases across the world. Let's stop giving money to other countries. Let's start making sure that we're putting money in our school systems, our infrastructure, and our businesses. And I think we would have a whole different economic outlook today. And I think my videos would be a lot more positive, and I think people would begin to breathe, and people would be able to go out there and spend money that they actually have, not money that they don't have. So I'm going to leave it there this weekend. I don't want to rant. I don't want to go on. Have a great weekend. Take a little time to add to the preparations this weekend. Don't be naive, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be complacent. This thing is far from over. It's just beginning. They printed a lot of money, and there's a price to pay for that. Prepare, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is going to continue to go off the rails. It's going to continue to get much worse. And if you're not preparing, you're going to be a victim of this. God bless.